Boom. Hey, what's going on, YouTubers? This is Manga here, and I hope you're having a great day. So earlier today, we were discussing the Marvel Cinematic Universe and everything about it, and we got into some other questions. So this is what sparked this stream. It's probably going to be a shorter stream, but we're going to wait it out a little bit, probably until the entirety of this song, which is about 4 minutes and 26 seconds, and we will start to talk about just some news and also some clarifications, because I did make some mistakes in my previous live stream news. I think about one mistake regarding the Eternals and their casting, but that's about it. Other than that, yeah, let's just check. Hope everyone is having a great day. And jamming, being good to themselves and their families. Hold on, I'm just like switching, checking my phone as the main aspect of the stream. Okay. It is hot, but I kind of like the heat, to be honest. I'd rather the heat than the cold. Eating some blueberries to cool me down. Good stuff. Alright. A little bit, we're gonna get started. So the goal for this stream is to debate, come up with theories on the MCU, also the DC universe, and I'm probably going to talk about some versus battles, hence why you see the picture, Predator versus Batman and such forth, right? Just really talking about like the Omniverse. And anytime I'm referring to the Omniverse, not the multiverse, right? So we have a universe, then we have a multiverse, which is different paradigms within a universe itself, right? And then we have the Omniverse. The Omniverse is basically all the universes. That means like all the different realities. So our reality, which is the real world, the X-Men cartoon universe, the Godzilla universe, the Predator universe, all of the universes is the Omniverse, which is like the holistic scale, right? So when we're talking about that a little bit later, I don't want anyone to get confused. So there's a universe, multiverse. I think there's something after multiverse, and then there's an Omniverse, or maybe they're just Omniverse right after that, right? All right. So we're gonna get started, and what I'm gonna get started with is simply kind of a recap of some of the news that we talked about earlier. Okay, I'm gonna pause the stream. All right, so really quickly, we're just I'm gonna switch my picture, switch my face this way, swinging it. That way we could really check out the pictures in its entirety. I think most of the pictures are kind of from left to right instead of from right to left. All right, let's start. Basically, on our news segment today, we talked about Comic-Con and how Comic-Con really released a litany of different just news when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? So we're very clear on the following. Eternals is coming out, which I want to talk about a little bit later, because I think a lot of people are downplaying the Eternals, but they're really important in terms of the inclusion of mutants, which is something I want to talk about a little bit later when it comes to mutants, because Kevin Feige did say mutants are coming to the MCU, and he mentioned that in San Diego Comic-Con. So yeah, Black Widow, There's more that I want to talk about with that after reading some articles today. Shang-Chi is coming out. Then we have Doctor Strange in the multi universe, and I do want to talk about um, WandaVision. And the reason why I want to talk about WandaVision is because we were making theories a little bit earlier, and they were actually right when it comes to where the timeline is, and also who's included and where it kind of just like follows. So I want to talk about that in a little bit, and just come up with theories. Black Panther is coming. Um, that was kind of like at the end of Kevin Feige's talk. Same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. Then we have Thor: Love and Thunder. A lot of controversy, even more than I actually thought, but there's a ton of controversy. We have Captain Marvel 2. We have Blade. Then we have Fantastic Four. But we also have, earlier I mentioned mutants, right? Mutants in the sense of he never, now Kevin Feige didn't say what type of mutant. He didn't say like the X-Men or anything like that. He just said mutants, right? So however that plays out, it's gonna be cool. But I want to get back to the. Let's start off with the Eternals. Back to the Eternals, right? Now I'm gonna try to bring up new pictures here so that you all could see. Um, the Eternals are super important, and the reason why is because as I mentioned in an earlier stream today, they are directly tied into the deviation, right? The deviation between the Eternals, the Deviants, who then the Deviants are basically who become like mutants over time. And the reason being is because we have a race of scientists, right, called the Celestials, right? So let me bring up a quick picture of the Celestials. Um, Now we have seen a celestial in, I believe, Guardians of the Galaxy. All right. So I'm gonna put up a quick picture. They are wildly powerful in the sense of their ability to um, do pretty much anything that they need to do, right? But the reason why I'm mentioning them is because realistically, they're the ones who seeded the birth of the Eternals and also the Deviants. And the deviants just basically are human beings, right? And are they human beings? Hold on. I want to make sure that I get that correct, but let me bring up that picture in the meantime, right? Of the celestials so that you're well aware, right? So we have seen a celestial in Guardians of the Galaxy, which you see on the right with the Power Stone. And then on the left, this is the comic book iteration of them, right? And in this quick picture, you see one, two, three, four, right? Four of them. Now, there's a ton of celestials, right? And we also see a celestial on uh, in Guardians of the Galaxy again, and it was the head, right? And it was a gigantic head, and inside of it was the collector, where the collector collects like all of this stuff, right? Pretty much. So that was a dead celestial. So that was just one quick picture or just iteration. But now let me just explain the Eternals, the Deviants. I just want to make sure that I'm getting this correct because this is super important, right? Um, so Deviants, I'm looking it up as I'm talking on the stream. Um, the Deviants, the Eternals, that whole history is like super important. So no, so I think I got this wrong. So there's Deviants, there's the Eternals, and then there's humans, right? Uh, had to bring up this old picture because I knew I was getting the names wrong. Um, we're gonna bring up this picture so that everyone could see, so that we have a better understanding of. Yeah. So the deviants are ever changing and supposedly the failures, right? So the deviants are kind of like trolls and things of that nature that we heard about in history. Human beings, are human beings, but the human beings are the ones who have a genetic code to unlock a specific genome sequence that has like mutagenic properties, which is why we have mutants and things of that nature, right? Um, it was already established that um, they would be the next stage in evolution, right? Mutants itself. So, and it also gives you understanding into why certain experiments is what led to certain mutations, right? Now, a quick example of that is like, oh, how come Bruce Banner didn't die during the gamma explosion, and how come he turned into the Hulk? It's because he already had mutagenic properties within his DNA, and what happened was the gamma radiation just only unlocked it and pushed it farther, and just kind of fused with that genome sequence, right? Um, so, and if you see the Celestials, they're kind of like the perfect beings. They're immune to time and death and pretty much everything in that sense. Um, they're pretty much the ultimate beings, right? Um, Angelic in nature, just perfect. And I really think they picked a good cast for those characters to represent um, the actual Eternals, right? Why another reason why that's important. Originally in the comic books, um, they lived on Earth, but then they moved on to Titan, which is where Thanos lives. But of course, we know there is no more Thanos, so I wonder how that's gonna play out in terms of just everything, right? Um, so the clarification that I wanted to make earlier that I mentioned is the Eternals has a cast of people, and I think I announced a character who is not in the movie, and the picture that I brought up. So I'm going to picture again that this is the main cast. That is it. I I think I mentioned um, the the girl from uh, Bob Millie Bobby. I don't think Millie Bobby is not in the movie, right? Her inclusion is not there at all. And I think that was a mistake. That was just a rumor, and I took it to to reality, so to speak, and that wasn't the case. So let's just check it out one more time. Just looking at that picture that I put up of the whole entire cast, it's a phenomenal cast for the Eternals movie. So this is a little bit more in depth. So this is kind of like the lead cast. Let me move this picture so that you could see a little bit better. So this is the cast for the Eternals movie, right? I'm really excited for this team because it holds a lot in terms of it kind of lays the groundwork for where the Marvel Cinematic Universe will go for Phase 4 itself. All right, so that's pretty much it. Now, the next movie that we talked about is a little bit Shang-Chi. There's nothing really for me to bring out more about that. It is what it is. Shang-Chi is basically a martial artist, one of the best, the greatest martial artists there ever was and will be, and he's just a really cool, kind of like a Bruce Lee-esque type of character. And as long as he has an in-depth story, I think that you know he'll do pretty well, right? Overall, I think the movie will do pretty well if it lays a specific groundwork and if it doesn't, then honestly, I'm going to be super honest. A lot of people are going to go see it, and if it does well, then it'll have future continuations. And if it doesn't do well, then the only thing that's going to happen is that it's just going to be a one-off, right? It's going to be a one-shot movie, and then that's it. Um, and I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that if it's just a one-off movie. Skipping to um, Black Widow now. Black Widow, there's a little bit more information that we got to the Black Widow movie. Um, Now, it is a prequel movie, and we are gonna get information on her being in Budapest. And Budapest, um, is a place that Hawkeye and her talked about quite a bit in the movies, right? Um, Now now based on that, we are given information into a couple of things, right? Um, in the movie, we know that there's going to be the villain is going to be Taskmaster, but we also know that there is going to be Russian heroes in the movie as well, right? One of them is gonna be Red Guardian. Now, Red Guardian is kind of like the for Captain America for Russia itself. Here's a quick picture, and here's our actor, and we know this actor already. He plays he is in Stranger Things, right? So he's gonna be playing. I'm not too sure if he's gonna look just like that in terms of the costume design. I don't think he's gonna have a shield. He might have like a different weapon to represent um, Red Guardian, not look too much like Captain America, or maybe he might look just like that, or some kind of iteration of the suit with a shield. So I'm eager to see that and to know, the other characters who are going to be in the movie. All right, so let's move on because I want to get to the meat of this, and I'm also waiting for more people to join the chat over time because people will drop in. So next on the list we have when we were talking about the news. We have Black Panther, right? Boom. We talked about that a little bit. Nothing really. We don't really have any news when it comes to Captain America. But then going back, we have the Thor movie. There's a ton of controversy behind it. I went on Facebook earlier, and there's like wars of people who are for it, don't really care about it. Kind of like me, I'm pretty optimistic. I don't really care for it. And there's people who are truly raging out about Jane Foster or Natalie Portman. I think it's more or less that it's Natalie Portman who's gonna be the successor to Thor. I'm not gonna really get into the politics behind it because there is a lot of politics behind it. People don't want a woman to be Thor, right? They're saying it's Natalie Portman, but I don't think it's Natalie Portman. I think it could have been anyone, and there still would have been some kind of a backlash behind it. But again, I think she's gonna get her version of Major. I'm not too sure. So that was kind of like what I read in San Diego Comic Con. She had a Major in her hand, right? So I'm not too sure how they're gonna forge her her own version. Now, something was said earlier in the chat from aggressively I forgot his name off the top of my head, but he was just made mentioning at the end of War of Realms that she received the artifact and she's able to kind of like transcribe or transmutate it into any other weapon. Now she may get something of the sorts, or she might have one of the trolls. I think there's only one troll left, right? The same one who made the hammer, who made Stormbreaker. So I don't see why not. They can't give her a hammer, and also um, Thor, Chris Helmsworth has his own hammer too. We could have a Thor corpse, right? Why not? Um, am I mad at that? No, I'm not mad at Natalie Portman. Am I gonna like get crazy about it? Absolutely not. Um, I'm at this point where I trust the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they know what they're doing um, to a high degree, right? Now, I'm pretty sure if there was any lesson to be learned from any of the past movies, they would be from the following movies: Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, and Captain America, the First Avenger, and also Captain Marvel. Those are the movies that I think that Kevin Feige and the rest of the team they've learned quite a bit from, right? pretty much all they needed to in order to make the next slew of movies um, great with the best recipe possible, right? The reason why I'm saying that now, if I reflect on Iron Man 2 and 3, right? Iron Man 2 and 3 diverged, not diverged, went into a state of semi comedic with well, I wouldn't say semi-comedic. It wasn't that comedic, but there were comedic moments that didn't really drive the story too much, right? And because of that, two and three were kind of like put on the back burner. Um, one of the things for three is they had Whiplash as a character. Oh, yeah, was it two or three? They had Whiplash as a character, but then they had a comedic version of the Mandarin, which is who we're gonna see the real Mandarin um, in basically the movie. We're gonna see the real Mandarin in Shang-Chi, which is gonna be amazing. So I'm excited to see that. Um, and I think they learned their lesson from the first Avenger. First Avenger was not bad in any means possible, but the reason why I put Captain America and Captain Marvel is because they both have origin stories that don't really bring the character along the way. So Captain, and this is just a personal opinion. So Captain America was great. It was a good movie. By all means, it was a good movie, but it was very slow at times, right? And I felt the same when I was watching Captain Marvel. I felt like it was very slow. They were dragging on certain scenes that didn't need to be dragged on. Now, Captain Marvel, above all, I think um, they diverged way too far. For example, Nick Fury as Nick Fury himself, even though we were introduced to a younger version, I felt like his character didn't really match up with our current version, which I want to talk about in a little bit after I just finish these thoughts. When it comes to the scrolls and things of that nature, there are a lot of theories going around about the scrolls, and I am increasingly agreeing with them. But anyway, I think those are the movies that the Kevin Feige and the rest of the team um, the Russo brothers like just needed to learn from in order to make really good origin story movies. Iron Man 1 was a really good origin story because there was a lot of suspense. We felt the character in just in danger. Like, how is he going to get out of this? Even though we knew he would get out of it, there were times where we're just like, dang, like, how are these things going to happen? Because we were introduced to kind of someone who's just like rich, has it all, makes makes weapons for other countries, doesn't really care, gets trapped in this place where he is no longer laughing or smiling, but he's just pretty much struggling until he makes his way right out of something. It's kind of it's kind of like the ultimate achievement, right? You're knocked down to the ground and you're getting hit so much that you have no choice but to get stronger, right? And he uses his ingenuity as a human being to get out of this situation. Captain Marvel didn't provide me with that. Captain Marvel, it seemed like she had intense moments, but because it was a lot of confusion with the whole trying to get her memories, and I would just say there was so much could have like made the movie a ton better, but I still went out to watch it and support it because I do think that it may have been dry because it was an origin story, and now that we know the character, everything after this will be stellar, hopefully, right? Um, so while we're here, let's just talk about the scrolls, right? Now, there's a lot of theories going around that now we know at the end of Far From Home, we know at the end of Far From Home that Maria Hill and also Nick Fury, they were off doing their own thing, and it was a replacement scroll who was replacing them, right? The question that everyone is having right now is how long have they replaced them, right? And we know the scroll that was there, he wasn't bad or anything, right? He was just doing his he was just, they worked together. And the question is like, how long? How long was he there for? How long did he replace Maria Hill and also um, Nick Fury? Now, people, yeah, I mean, I'm theorizing that it could have is that the reason why he didn't call Captain Marvel, because it was a scroll the whole entire time, and Captain Marvel is actually with Nick Fury, um, out in space doing their thing. Probably not, right? Or is he like preparing off world to start off the Alpha Flight program, um, kind of like the Sword, right? The sentient world, something 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 response. um, yeah, everything like that. So I'm excited to see what that means. If they throw a wrench or a left hook and say like, this whole time we've been watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe since Iron Man #1, and they say like, Nick Fury has never been here, it's always been this scroll, then I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna flip. And the reason why I'm gonna flip, for some people that would make them really mad. For me, that would make me really excited. And the reason being is because it gives way to #1, a high possibility of a secret invasion. I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm saying that it opens up so many doors, right, for secret invasion, that some of the characters who we've kind of went through the last 10 years, they're actually they have been captured 10 years ago, right, or something of the sorts, and been switched up with um, scrolls. But I highly doubt that. And the reason why I highly doubt that is because there are certain characters on the team that should be able to detect if there's any kind of I would just say, just kind of like compromisation, right, in terms of their character. For example, Doctor Strange. I would assume that Doctor Strange would be able to um, know if someone is a scroll or not. Maybe, right? All right. So let's go on to kind of like the last bit, and then I'll talk about theories. Last bit here that I wanted to get into is the WandaVision. Now, Kevin Feige has stated that this happens. WandaVision takes place after the events of Endgame. Now, the reason why I'm looking like that is because if now earlier I talked about this. Now, if WandaVision takes place after the events of Endgame, then it leads me to believe that the title gives us a hint into what's actually happening. Wanda is only having visions of Vision because of her just her emotional scale, and also her ability to she has so much love for him, right? Now, another theory that I have into that is um, after a while, if you look at all the circuitry that was connected to the Mind Stone, I would definitely say that the Mind Stone was part and partial to Vision himself at the end of Infinity War, meaning that part of his essence, right, is still connected to Wanda, because that is the actual, it's what gave them their powers originally, and that's why they were so connected. So WandaVision may be a couple of things, that there's still reminiscence of Vision still there. Vision may come back in the future, or I think this is the part that I'm really going for, is that Wanda's just having visions of, she's still mourning him, and she's just having visions of him. And part of that is her kind of creating you know, a fake version of him, and she'll be able to get some type of advice from that vision. She'll make decisions based on what he's telling her, because Vision is in the movie. Paul Bettany is going to be in the movie, but is he going to be an actual real life version? I doubt it if it's going to happen after Endgame, unless they're just going to do um, they're going to go back in time and kind of talk about where they were between Infinity War and also Endgame, and then get into the future. But he didn't really specify. Well, I mean, he couldn't have specified too much in San Diego Comic Con because you know how that goes already. But what was said is it's going to take place after. So, and that it's going to connect into the next movie, which is um, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, if those two connect, then I'm starting to believe that between WandaVision and the Multiverse of Madness, that Wanda Maximoff is going to come into fruition as Scarlet Witch, and meaning her hex side of things, her Wicca side of things, because right now um, she's just utilizing powers that she's been given access to because of the stone, right? But if I remember correctly, her and her brother already had access to these, had some kind of access to mutagenic properties, right? The stones only unlock them even further. So I think predominantly her powers really stem from something far greater, and that's her access into similar types of sorcery like Doctor Strange. Like she's accessing different realities in order to do spells, right? Because that's what Doctor Strange does. He um he does various spells, and then he's accessing powers that derive from other high beings, right? For example, when he says the chains of Sidorak, which I'm really surprised that he said the chains of Sidorak in the first Doctor Strange movie, um, because that gives reference to Sidorak himself, which is the keeper who gave Juggernaut his armor, so to speak, right? Um, hey, what's going on? Thank you. I appreciate you, Seth Jackman. Thank you. I really appreciate you. Yeah, again, I'm looking forward to the Scarlet Witch show and how it ties into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and how there's a high probability that Nightmare will be a character, the main villain. Um, so I have a lot of theories on that. Um, let's see. I think that's about it, right? That's pretty much the entirety of what I wanted to talk about in terms of just theories when it comes to these shows, um, and how they link together, right? So, so what? I'm just checking out some things, right? Um, all right. Shout out to Seth Jackman. He said he's a bud of Chris Hemsworth here. We love your channel, man. I appreciate you for just jumping in real quick. So yeah, now part of the stream, I did say that we were going to talk about just theoretical aspects of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and also the DC universe itself. So I'm gonna quickly jump into a couple of things. Um, and the first that I wanted to jump into is basically um, I'm very optimistic when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as it is right now for Phase 4. I don't have any opposition to it, any main oppositions to it. My main opposition is that I think it's similar in terms of relevance that a lot of people will have, that a lot of people have already come accustomed or became fond of the lead ups, right? Meaning that this leads into this, leads into this, leads into this, leads into this, right? And as it looks right now, the char- the movies that are coming out right now, they are vastly different from each other, right? Let's just quickly look at Blade, and then we go back to, for example, um, Shang-Chi, right? Those movies are vastly different, and it's hard to see how they could link into each other. Or they may not link into each other at all. Maybe they're just, and I think that's fine, but I think that's what people might have a gripe about, that this movie doesn't have a big event that leads into the 10 years, right? Um, that all of these characters are not going to become one big team. So we are not going to have Blade team up with Black Widow, team up with, well, we're definitely not going to have Black Widow team up with anyone because that's a prequel story. But I wonder why why are we having a prequel story for Black Widow? Huh. When we already know that she's gone, right? There logically there's gonna be a reason for them to explain the reasoning behind her having a backstory. Now, I do believe that she's probably recalling memories while inside of the Soul Stone. They could resurrect her. They could resurrect her. And I mean, one thing that I theorize is that Black Widow is going to come back in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're not going to get rid of her. She's kind of, if anything, I think she's going to be the character who kind of leads the future Avengers, right? Alongside Captain America and also Bucky, right? Winter Soldier. And when I say Captain America, I am talking about Falcon because he is the Captain America right now, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, I do see her coming back, and the reason why it's I don't know, it seems highly baffling that they really killed off a lot of characters in Endgame, that it's gonna put everyone in a place, right? Where they're gonna look at Phase 4 and say like, I don't know about Phase 4. I don't know about it, right? It's kind of like when you had a teacher for a whole entire year, right? Or 2 years, and you always saw that teacher, and the teacher leaves the school, and then you have a new teacher. You're always going to compare and contrast, like, oh, but when Mr. Something and such was here, he used to do it this way, da da da, because people are not so much open to change. And because of that, it leads into that kind of like default stage of like, I don't like this, right? Because to be quite honest, there's a lot of people who are like, I don't like any of these movies coming out. I don't like the Eternals. I don't even know what the Eternals are. Who are the Eternals? What about them? They just came from left field, basically, and they're so important. So I think when we look at a lot of the movies, people are just kind of excited for Blade, um, and they don't mind the actor, but and out of the rest of the movies, people are okay with Black Widow, but they're like, Black Widow, how's that good movie gonna be? And then that's about it, right? I don't see any high buzz. I only see a lot of gripe and a lot of comparison and a lot of debates, right, on the negative scale, right, about what should be and what should not be. So I don't know. I'm super optimistic that this phase is going to be one that will make everyone not forget, but everyone will just be like, you know what, Disney, they will do us no wrong. And I say that because I feel like there is linkage into a lot of these movies. Now, Blade itself opens up a whole litany of the underworld, right? He alone has his own sub universe within the universe, right? Similarly to Doctor Strange. I mean, Doctor Strange universe is like very vast and wild and just broad, but at the same time, I think that a lot of these movies that people are griping about, they just need to give it a little bit of a chance before leading into that. Oh, my favorite teacher left the school. Now I'm going to compare and contrast to this new teacher, right? A lot of the characters we had, they died, they passed, they're gone, right? They can't stay young forever, and this is why Marvel is going in the path to then change up a lot of these characters and or introduce brand new ones, right? Because they can't do the same thing that they've always been doing for too long. They have to open up to new ideas, like Blade, um, and open up for the mutants. So yeah. Um, Lastly, I know I didn't really talk too much because I was waiting for more folks to come in, but looks like everyone's busy today, which is cool, understandable. It's a Sunday. Um, but the last we were going to talk a little bit, just a little bit, about the DC universe, right? And I just have this picture here between Marvel versus DC, kind of like the amalgam universe. Now, DC, the DC kind of like universe in terms of the movie realm is really obscure to me right now, and the reason why it's obscure is because I really don't see how. See, this is very similar. A lot of people were so used to like movies connecting to each other that when they did connect to each other, it happened in a reverse way, right? So we only had a couple movies, and then the whole Justice League um kind of came together, right? People didn't like it that way. Now we don't have the same Batman, and we don't have Henry Cavill as Superman. We do have Shazam, which did okay. It was a good kind of like fun ride movie. Kids enjoyed it, adults enjoyed it, and that was about it. And we also have Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman did great. That first movie did great. Dawn of Justice, Batman versus Superman, her inclusion was just kind of like made it everything, right? Especially when she came at the end. Um, so I'm eager to see how certain characters are going to interact with each other now, especially with the Flash. I believe, I super honestly believe, I'm going to be that my theory is that there is going to be some sort of flashpoint. And that is what's going to fix everything if they do it right. Now, Flashpoint was when Barry Allen just really went back in time to save his mom. And that sounds like pretty good, right? Um, he went to save his mom and he did it, but it changed everything, which then gives way into the butterfly effect, right? Which is one small change can have a ripple effect um, of a magnitude so great that everything changes after that, right? So a butterfly could flap its wings and then it causes a tornado like about 50 miles away, not because it flapped the wings, but in reality because it basically kind of ricocheted, rolled over, swiped, erosion, and a whole bunch of other things, and then led into another effect, right? So yeah, so I do believe, I hope, because there's a lot of confusion into where the DC universe or their cinematic universe is going right now, and I hope that this will be what takes us somewhere, right? That the next Flash movie will be the one that saves the day, right? That maybe it won't be a Flashpoint, but it will be him going back in time because they never really explored that, right? In the Flash was introduced primarily in quick snippet of him was in Batman vs Superman, and then we didn't his full iteration didn't come to fruition until uh, the actual Justice League movie, right? So his story, I don't think he needs a backstory, but they may give him some kind of like, back information. But I think they need to just give him something to do or to quote unquote mess up at first and then to fix it in order to then diverge from the main timeline. Because in the main timeline, we see a couple of characters who are no longer there, and it might give a reasoning behind why things are going a certain direction now, right? Um, hoping, hoping for that to happen. Aquaman did pretty well. Wonder Woman did pretty well. Shazam did pretty well. Suicide Squad is going to get a reboot. Batman is going to get a reboot. So I feel like I'm not even worried about Suicide Squad at all. I feel like the reboot is going to do really well, and people are going to look to DC to just come out with a whole bunch of like rated R type movies, right? Which I'm okay with, right? It sucks. This is a side note, and then I'm gonna bring this stream to a close in a little bit. That the actual shows for DC, they're really good, right? Doom Patrol is not bad at all. Um, it's not bad at all. Um, but there is one show that I didn't think was gonna get canceled, and it got canceled. I didn't even see any part of it. Like I didn't see any episode, and I still want to go check it out because some of these pilot episodes, and they put a lot of budget into it, and then they recalled it, and that is Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing was canceled already. Like I think it was canceled just like a couple weeks after they announced episode one coming in. Now I hope that they revisit it because uh, if you look at this picture, that's exactly how he looks in the show. It looked creepy, it looked scary. It just looked like a show that I definitely would enjoy 100%. Right? Camera's kind of blurry. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the possibility of them bringing it back, but also just in general, like I hope uh, if DC is not gonna do high quality movies, I'm okay with that. Just keep going with the animation and keep going with the high quality shows. Put most of the budget into the shows and also the animations, and then we'll be fine. I think they could still boister a lot of money off of it, right? Um, but yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna end the stream right here. Let me know what you think about some of the suggestions and theories that I made, debating um, just some things in general, right? I hope everyone enjoyed the video. If you're watching this at a later time, well, most likely you're gonna watch this at a later time. Um, I keep putting up this picture because this is the team I really want in the future. Woo! This team is fire. But anyway, this is Zen Manga saying peace, love, and prosperity. Hope you're having a great day, and I will check you all tomorrow. Post some comments so I know what are your thoughts on certain elements of the MCU. Some people like it, Phase 4, and I'm okay that people don't like it. Um, I'm for it. I'm for the change. I'm for the optimism that comes with it. But let me tell you something. I may be completely wrong, right? These movies could come out and then they're garbage in the sense of like storyline. So, which will force Disney to do a whole lot of other things. I think if the Eternals, we'll know already. If the Black Widow is gonna do, my prediction is that Black Widow is gonna do pretty good. Hopefully, right? Actually, you know what? If Black Widow does really good and the Eternals do really really well, then that's it. Where everything will be all right. Everything will be good. Anyway, this is Zen Manga saying peace. Have a good day.